This case sort of shows why we have a First Amendment, because the government silenced these people, and so the American public thought there was a consensus, thought that the only thing we could do was lockdowns and mask mandates and vaccine mandates. They didn't realize that a lot of scientists and other experts actually disagreed.
And now we turn to an issue that has been brewing for years, yet we are only now finding out about some of the facts behind our suspicions that the social media companies are picking and choosing who they want to favor. And joining us tonight, Jenin Younes, who knows quite a bit about this disturbing trend. Jenin, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are with the new Civil Liberties Alliance, and I'm really happy to say that you seem to be doing the work that the American Civil Liberties Union has apparently given up doing. So thank you for that. But the gist of what we're here to talk about today is a lawsuit that you are a part of, is being filed in Missouri, along with a couple of state attorney generals, against social media companies. What's going on with this suit?
Well, actually, just to clarify, the suit is against the United States government, the Biden administration specifically, and a number of federal agencies. So what we're alleging is that the government is coercing the social media companies into censoring people who have certain viewpoints, mostly about COVID, also the elections, the Hunter Biden laptop. And so by using the social media companies to accomplish their own aims of silencing certain people and certain views, that's a First Amendment issue. And so the government can be sued on that basis.
Right, because the argument that many people have been making in defense of social media companies is that they are private entities. They're not subject to the First Amendment. They can pick and choose who they want to use. But these organizations, it's becoming increasingly clear, serve as sort of a de facto utilities in the same way that a phone company, a public phone company might serve. But it goes well beyond that, because we now know for a fact that the federal government has been pushing these social media companies to silence certain perspectives.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we're representing 4 plaintiffs in the lawsuit, Drs. Bhattacharya and Kuhldorff, and Dr. Aaron Cariotti, and a woman named Jill Hines, who runs Health Freedom Louisiana. People might know about Bhattacharya and Kuhldorff because they wrote the Great Barrington Declaration, and they basically said that lockdowns were a bad idea and we should focus on protecting vulnerable people, and other people should return to normal. So we're representing them because they've been censored extensively on social media. The Great Barrington Declaration itself was censored, and we believe that the U.S. government is behind censorship of them and many other Americans who expressed views that diverged from the administrations on COVID.
I'm curious if you've worked in any respect with Alex Berenson, who's been a vaccine skeptic along and was banned from Twitter for expressing his views, which ultimately proved to be true. He filed suit against Twitter. They relented. They let him back on their platform. There was some sort of a settlement involved as well. But he was right all along. The Great Barrington Declaration was right all along. The people who have been misinforming the public is the Biden administration.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And this case sort of shows why we have a First Amendment, because the government silenced these people. And so the American public thought there was a consensus, thought that the only thing we could do was lockdowns and mask mandates and vaccine mandates. They didn't realize that a lot of scientists and other experts actually disagreed. And Alex Berenson, he is a New York Times reporter, so he's not a scientist, but he had done extensive research. He'd read very carefully. He had very, very informed points of view. And he actually has a really strong First Amendment case, in my opinion, because he got discovery in his lawsuit that showed he was actually targeted explicitly by members of the administration, and that Twitter succumbed to pressure and kicked him off. So there are internal emails from Twitter between the employees where they're saying things like, we met with the White House. They had some tough questions about why Alex Berenson's still on Twitter. Mercifully, we had answers. Now, you don't use the word mercifully if you think that you're in a sort of equal partnership of two equals working together. Rather, that shows that Twitter considered itself to be under pressure from the White House. And again, it corroborates the theory that the companies are basically doing this because they're afraid of regulation or other legal consequences, as indeed the administration has threatened.
Well, it's frightening and it's terrible, and it should not stand in this country where free speech and the First Amendment is an absolute bedrock of our Constitution and of the amendments. It's the First Amendment for a reason, because without the First Amendment, who can speak for any of the others? But it goes well beyond COVID to suppression of information that the federal government doesn't like about elections, the Hunter Biden laptop, climate change, and other issues as well. Tell us about that.
That's right. Yes. So, I mean, basically what we've learned through this lawsuit and through discovery in this lawsuit, discovery is when a certain party in litigation has to produce documents or other information pursuant to a court order that you might not otherwise be able to get. So the discovery in this lawsuit revealed that 11 federal agencies at least, and around 80 federal officials, again at least, have been involved in this enterprise. And that's basically, again, censoring certain perspectives, which is the most sort of egregious First Amendment violation. People, for instance, who spread misinformation in the other direction, if they say that children are dying at higher rates from Omicron than adults, which someone named Eric Feigelding, who's considered a COVID expert, has said they're not censored. In fact, they're usually amplified by Twitter. So what's going on is one side, and one side only, is getting censored, which it's really quite egregious.
Fox News reported earlier this year, I'm quoting, the top donors from Google, which owns YouTube, pushed 94% of their total 2022 political contributions to Democrats, as did 99% of Twitter employee donations, records show. Is there a link between campaign donations and their desire to censor the opposition?
That's a good question, and it sort of goes to this point about whether the companies want to be doing this. So I believe that what the government is going to say is that the companies actually want to do this. They're all Democrats, as those donations show. They want to accomplish the same aims. They want to help the Biden administration accomplish those aims, and they can do that. First of all, I reject that from a First Amendment perspective. I think that when the companies are basically acting as government actors and doing the government's bidding, whether or not they want to, that should be considered a First Amendment violation. This has to be viewed against the backdrop of all the coercion, all the threats that we've seen, and the emails and other communications showing that these tech companies are really operating under duress.
True. Jenin Younes, this is so fascinating, and we've barely scratched the surface of it all. Thanks so much. I hope you'll come back sometime. Hi, I'm Doug McKelway, and thank you for watching Centerpoint. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Leave a comment below and keep the conversation going by sharing this video with a friend who needs to see it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.